Coming up on this episode of Grumpy Old Men, how to deal with unruly teenagers.
Find out all about my nightmare trip to John Lewis.
Well, Kevin, as one of the stalwarts here at Grumpy Old Men, is kicking off with slavery reparations.
Slavery reparations. The Caribbean countries next week will demand from Britain, check it out, £19 trillion in compensation for us owning plantations.
We haven't got any money, have we?
Well, exactly.
Yep.
Well, what we need to tell these countries, they're just hustling. And we need to tell these countries, listen, thank you very much for your request for £19 trillion, but you're not going to get any money out of us. Not now, not ever. So stop this crap and let's move on. The point is, no one alive is responsible for... I'm going to have to qualify this now, aren't I? For old-school slavery.
Old-school slavery.
No one alive is responsible.
Yeah.
So the Caribbean countries, the African countries, are saying to Britain, you have to give us trillions of pounds for something that no one alive is responsible for. You cannot say, oh, well, your dad or your great-grandfather was a slave trader, therefore it's your fault. It's not. And this madness has to stop.
But do you know what's the problem is that this is all being led as well by these kind of kids, children of the rich and famous. You know, I had a guy on my show this week who apparently decided that his family were terrible slave owners and he's terribly ashamed of it. And he said, we need to sort this out. We need to give money back. And I said to him, have you paid any reparations then as a result of this book you wrote? And he went, no.
Will you be cancelling your holiday to Mystique?
Yeah.
No. Also, it's been pointed out to me by some people who know a lot more than I do about this, that the people who lived in West Africa, who were exported from West Africa to various parts around the globe, including the Caribbean and America, are doing a lot better now than they would have been doing if they'd stayed in West Africa, where the GDP is absolutely rock bottom and where, you know, the average salary is something like 1,700 quid a year.
A bit of reparation cash would come in handy.
And where does it stop, though? Where does it stop?
Right. Can we not get it from the Romans?
Yeah, well, let's go to let's go to Italy. We have some
Vikings.
reparations for the slaves.
How about
Go
the
to
Vikings?
the Greeks. You know, I mean, where does this? When's the cut-off point for reparations for us paying for the sins of our forefathers?
It's grifters, isn't it? It's just, it's like the race industry. They've seen money and they've gone, oh, you know, pound signs going round and round and round. They're going, we could get some money here.
But
This would be great.
we have to pay lip service. We also go, oh, we're very sorry for what happened. Oh, absolutely. You know, the king...
I'm not sorry.
The king last year had to say that he was...
I'm just not.
Well, no, but the king...
My fault, isn't it?
Nor am I, but to be honest with you.
I'm not
that's
sorry.
the point. So we've got to tell
no
these
slavers in the family.
I don't... Well, do you know what? This guy came on and he said, I've been looking up the Graham family. And I said, well, good luck with that, mate, because I don't even know which side of the Graham family I come from. So if you know which side of the Graham family I come from, then you're already ahead of me.
Is that the Graham slave traders?
Right, yeah.
The Graham slave company.
Because anyone who was successful in the 18th century, right, was probably involved in some way with slavery.
Yeah.
It was just what was going on.
Right.
You know?
So stop blaming us for it. It's
Right.
ridiculous. So tell these grifters, these hustler nations, the Caribbeans, the Africans, thank you very much for your request, but you will never, ever, ever get a penny out of us because it doesn't make sense. Now go away.
Yeah.
Now, on the subject of slaves, there is something that those of us that are parents are slaves to, which are teenagers.
Teenagers, yes. Well, you know a bit about this, right?
Yes.
Kevin has saved himself from this argument because he's very wisely never had any children, right? And quite frankly, there are moments in your life as a parent where you think, do you know what?
Kev
I
was
wish
right.
I just never had any.
Well, I've got a clip.
lot.
I've got a clip that
Yeah, go
might encapsulate a teenager.
Yeah. A familiar refrain, because I get this all the time, trying to have conversations with my teenager, who's now the last one of the four, who's only in his teens, and all I get is, I'm going out. Sometimes I don't even get that. And then he doesn't tell you when he's coming back. He doesn't tell you where he's going, doesn't tell you what he's doing, who he's going with.
I think an electric collar, Mike.
I think an electric collar, I mean, there's a very useful device called an iPhone tracker, which, of course, I would never admit to doing because it's not for me to do that. I don't track his every move, but his mother does. And she knows exactly where he is at all times. And so when he starts telling lies about where he is, we go, trouble is you can't then act on it because you go, well, then he'll find out you're tracking him. But, you know, we had a particularly bad weekend, I'm afraid, and I don't mind sharing this, even though he probably won't like it. We had a bit of a set to, at which point there were several moments at which I thought we were going to get involved in some kind of altercation on the back doorstep at about 1 o'clock in the morning. But instead of getting involved in an altercation, I basically grabbed the door, pulled it towards me, put the big sort of mortise key in the lock and locked it and went, I'm locking you out. you're going to sleep wherever you like. You're not sleeping in here.
Did you?
Yeah, I locked him out.
What happened?
And I think he ended up sleeping in the hammock in the garden.
Did he say?
That's the way to do
Did
it.
he say at any point that's not fair?
I think he did, actually. Yeah. He said,
Or you just don't understand.
I live here. I'm like, well, sorry, you're not fulfilling your responsibilities as a member of this family, so I'm locking you out. I don't care where you sleep. And the only reason I know that he was sleeping somewhere nearby was that in the morning I woke up and had to let the dog out into the garden. And very shortly thereafter, and I left the door open, he came in. So he must have been very close by. I assumed he would go and sleep with one of his friends or go to one of his friends' houses. No, he apparently slept in the hammock, I think.
How old is he?
17.
Okay.
Now, one might say, Mike, that that's slightly old school parenting.
Some people might say that, but I was sort of at my wit's end, and I thought better to do that than get out there and fully start punching him, and start brawling with him. Because he'd probably beat me up.
I was what would be described as a slightly difficult teenager.
You were lively as a teenager.
I was
understand.
lively as a teenager.
Yep.
I think I challenged.
Interesting.
And they didn't have iPhone trackers in those days.
No, they
either.
didn't. And then, quite frankly, you didn't want to know where I was going. But I have to say, by comparison, my 17-year-old is pretty good.
Yes.
But then that might be his mother's influence.
But I
rather
think,
than mine.
but I mean, generally speaking, we've had our moments. Generally speaking, he's okay. It's just that there's a sort of irrational side of being a teenager. I don't remember being a bad
I
teenager.
think it has been clinically proven that teenage boys, the bit in your brain that creates empathy just disappears for about 5
and
years.
common sense, presumably, as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, along with it. But
Yeah.
you're only thinking about what's at the end of your nose, or in many cases, on your phone.
And of course, the other great kind of tragedy of all of this is that I always end up in the wrong.
Kev, you had any direct experience of teenagers?
I don't like
like
kids much, no. But they tend to, they seem to like me.
I used to say, I don't like anybody else's kids. I only like my own.
That's right, yeah.
Now,
It's true,
I don't even like my own.
Well,
That's what my dad always said. The only kids you like are
might
your
want to be
own.
nice.
But
You might
you're-
want to be nice to them, right? They're getting to the age where they might be wiping your arse.
Well, in that case, they can just shoot me. I've already given them
I
instructions.
think this
on
is
that
the
one.
problem. He
I'm
started
like,
doing it without permission.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Well, teenagers are responsible for something else, which this video will explain.
I think it's somewhat liberating.
It's an unconscious emotion, really. It just bubbles up.
I keep coming back to smooth and floating because that's what it's like. It's effortless.
When you put a pair of these on, you're really making a statement.
It's one of those shoes that allows you, when you put it on, to be very comfortable with who you are.
For me, color definitely plays into this, but I think it goes both ways. Some people just feel bold enough in a basic color, others really just want to go all the way.
Most people would look at that shoe and know exactly what it is. You can't say that about a lot of other brands. That's one of the reasons why it was named one of the shoes that changed the world.
I hate Crocs. They are not...
Agreed.
They're not shoes.
They're not shoes.
Adults should not wear Crocs. They're immediately infantilizing
Yes.
your feet.
Yes.
And then the ones where people put badges on them, like
Oh.
they're being individual with their
Furry
Crocs.
ones I've seen.
And the other thing is, they're not good for your feet.
Right.
There's not
Also,
enough support. They're made of
I'm
sponge.
sorry,
You wouldn't
when-
walk around with a
Plastic,
couple
aren't
of
they?
car
Aren't they
sponges
plastic?
stuck to your
I mean,
feet.
they are comfortable. I mean, coming back, as you say, to teenagers, my teenage son has a pair of these.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's why you don't like
I
it.
use them to put on in the middle of the night if I'm, up late.
Or
to go
pushing
for
him out the
To
door.
go for a pee in the garden.
Right.
Because I can't be bothered putting my proper
On
shoes
your
on.
child who is sleeping
Yeah,
outside.
and if he happens to be in a hammock, so be it. But no, also, these
Hang on a second.
adverts, right?
Have
where
you
they
got
go-
any inside loos?
Yeah, but it's upstairs.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes it's just easy. I let the dog out. Dog goes
I
out
get
for a
it,
pee.
I
I go with him.
It's very
we both have a
liberating.
pee. It's very... It's very
The dog and you having a
man and
pee.
dog.
That's
I like
part
it.
of-
Man
that's
and dog.
part-
It's comforting.
That is part of dog
Yeah,
ownership as a
exactly.
man, is you can walk out and the last pee of the night is
Yeah.
with your dog.
It's with the dog.
It's lovely.
But, also...
But
when they-
not in Crocs.
But when you see these ridiculous adverts like that, where it's making a statement. Well, it is, but it's not a good
No,
statement.
it's a statement that I might be a complete arse.
Yes.
They're made of plastic, aren't they? I mean, and
Well,
they're hideous.
They're sponge.
I mean, they are comfortable. I will
they
give you
are-
that.
well,
They
they
are
are.
comfortable.
The first time I ever experienced a Croc in real life, we used to go to this cafe called Frank's Cafe, and Frank, who ran the cafe,
Right.
was what you would want a cafe owner to be.
Yeah.
Right? He was a man who...
Bit dodgy.
Bit dodgy, perhaps not necessarily that clean as a person.
Right.
And he wore Crocs. And I said to him, Frank, what the hell have you got on your feet? He goes, oh, they're brilliant.
Right.
I wear them all day in the kitchen, and then at the end of the night, I just throw them in the dishwasher.
No!
Clean them.
Oh, nice.
No.
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 No, Frank, I no longer want to eat you. It's bad enough thinking about you preparing the food, but the fact that the plates have part of your feet on them as well.
Right.
But
Yeah.
they are just, it's how they become like perfectly okay to wear at any occasion.
Yes.
Now. Crocs with socks.
But have you not also seen, there's another, I'm sorry to move you away slightly from Crocs, but there's another unfortunate phenomena of footwear, which is the Ugg slipper.
Oh, God.
And you see people now walking. I was sitting outside, I was waiting for a bus actually, and I was outside this football academy, and this woman went to pick up her son wearing slippers, the furry slippers, with you could see the toes.
Why have you come out in those?
They're not proper shoes, and she's walking across the road. It was raining. They were wet. I'm going, what are you doing?
But in the north, all women always go out in their slippers and their curlers, don't they?
Yeah, but I mean now, but it's the idea that Uggs are like even the boots.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about
what do they
Crocs,
call them? Slag wellies.
Are they? I haven't heard
they're
that.
called slag
Croc-
wellies.
So Crocs, the thing about Crocs is, what's that expression? Croc of shit.
Yes.
Obviously, obviously comes from.
That's
Crocs.
what they're known.
It comes from Crocs.
That's what they're known as.
The
That's why they called them
The point is, if you see someone driving a car, sitting in their car with a face mask on, you know who they vote for, right? They're left wing. If you see someone wearing those shit shoes, Crocs, they're left wing, aren't they?
Are they?
They're definitely.
I'm not sure.
They're left wing.
I don't know.
They're left wing as footwear,
I
without
don't know.
a shadow of a doubt.
I'm not sure
without
that's
a shadow
true.
of a doubt.
When you are bringing your Crocs back, you don't want to be taking them to John Lewis, do you?
Yeah, I don't have a go at John Lewis. I think it's a very fine store, generally speaking, but I'm going to tell you a story. It's customer services generally at places like department stores, around, all businesses. Customer services is the worst department in that company, right? So I go to... I've got...
Is this your computer?
Yeah, so
This is great.
I bought a
I love this.
I bought a laptop about 2 months ago
this
for
still
about
going on,
8 million quid, and the bloody thing goes wrong. I get back from holiday, it won't charge up. It's taken me 2 months to finally pluck up the courage to endure the hell of John Lewis on a Saturday. So I go down there on Saturday with my little bag and the receipt and everything.
Did you have the one at Brent Cross?
Well, no, it's the one on Oxford Street.
Oh,
that's where I
Christ, you
bought
went
it.
to that one. Right.
So I go through, there's all these, assistants standing around doing nothing. And I said, I've got to take this back. So they go, you need to go to the customer service department.
Can I just say, if I was working on the customer services department and Kevin O'Sullivan turned up, I'd be like, lunch break.
Yeah.
Well, it was a bit like that. So you need to go to the customer service department. So I go around the corner, I walk into this sort of living hell of about, it looked like the kind of football terrace with so many people there. So I finally get through to the desk and I said, I bought this and I want to bring it back.
It doesn't work.
I'm happy to leave it here, obviously. I'm afraid there'll be a 40-minute wait. I said, 40-minute wait? What are you talking about? That's not customer service. That's customer infuriating. I mean, unbelievable. And it sort of, as I say, everywhere you go...
You are number 7 in line to be pissed
Customer
off.
services is the worst department in any company. And just as an addendum to this, I'd like to add those, those satisfaction questionnaires.
Terrible.
When sort of...
the little things that...
Yeah, or when Amazon sends you an email...
How did we do?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Amazon sends you and say, how did we do? You delivered a parcel. Big bloody deal. You expect me to put a 20-point questionnaire?
No, but next to the customer service desk, you have those things where you can either punch an angry face, click a not that bothered face, or a I'm really happy face.
That's right.
Shouldn't there be an emoji for leaving like a piece of feces behind? Just go, actually, it was
Dirty. Dirty
Picture of a piece of
You mean dirty protest?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, so did you wait the 40 minutes then?
No, I said, are you joking? I said, do you expect me to sit here for 40 minutes? I'm afraid that's like... She said, I can't guarantee it'll be 40 minutes. So you're saying it might be longer? She said, it could easily be an hour.
No.
I said, are you finding that many
Oh,
people
my
are going,
God.
yeah, I'll definitely wait for an hour? She
I'll
goes,
be here.
No,
I've
not
got nothing
really.
else
I said,
to do.
well, what are all these people doing here? They're waiting for an hour. Absolute disaster.
Yeah.
So I never
So
did
you
get...
still haven't...
Still haven't got it fixed, no.
Deary me, does it still not
No,
type the letter
it
X?
won't charge. It
Does
just
it,
won't.
but also still won't type the letter X? Or did you
Well,
change
no,
that?
that's the old one. That's
the
why
old
I
one.
replaced it.
I don't know
so I'm
about
back
any-
to the X one now.
I don't know about anyone else, but deep down, I'm not sure I ever want Kev's computer problem to be solved because we'll run out of grumps. This may have come as a surprise to regular viewers.
Yes.
That you are grumpy about food.
I am grumpy about food, not about eating food.
Oh,
don't
right.
get me wrong.
No, good.
I like eating food. I like cooking food.
You're kidding.
I like supplying it to other people. As people know, as I said today on my show, you know, as you can see, I have not been taking Ozempic because for me, it's not something that I feel like I should be doing to myself. You know, it's taken me a lot of money and effort to look like this. And, you know, my cardiologist tells me...
injected away.
Yes, and my cardiologist tells me I'm more healthy than he could ever imagine. So
what
that's
is
all
it for
fine.
food?
Amazing,
But this is about public eating of food, right? This is about
with
people
you.
that get on the tube, and you know who I'm talking about, and they open up... The worst thing, they open up a sandwich, which they bought at one of the outlets, like Boots or... why would you buy a sandwich from Boots, for a start? It's a chemist. Right, why are you buying a sandwich from a chemist?
Because it's a meal deal.
It's a meal deal. Or it's from Marks and Spencer's. The worst, though, is when they get out their sort of Tupperware and they've got a spoon. And they're sitting on the tube.
Leftovers.
Or they're eating something like coleslaw. And I'm just thinking, what are you doing? But I have to confess that the reason I brought this up, I was asked to bring this up by our boss, right, whose name will remain unidentified, who said that he had watched Kevin O'Sullivan eating last night before his show what could only be described as a complete mess.
Oh, it was
edamame was
sushi.
involved.
Yeah, it was
Sushi.
It was all over the desk.
And our boss
not
said
good with
he
chopsticks,
took
yeah?
about an hour to eat it, and he said he was sitting there, and you don't know this, but he was sitting in his office watching him. He couldn't quite believe what he was doing. He was taking, you know, when you eat edamame, there's kind of a skin.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he
you
was just
can't eat
taking
that.
it out and putting it on the table, right?
Yeah.
And previously,
Cleaned it up afterwards.
well, which you didn't do once.
I
when
know.
Julie
I know.
Hartley
Who
Brewer-
told you this?
when Julie Hartley Brewer had a go, because he had gone. I think he was doing my show at the time. I was
Oh,
away.
that's right. But she doesn't like
And
dirty days.
he had a breakfast before he went in to do the show at 10 o'clock and had left it completely just covered in food. She went completely bananas, came in and shouted at him while he was on the air that he should come out and remove it. So I just think there should be very strict rules. You know, when you get on a bus or you get in a taxi, particularly in towns outside of Britain, and it always says on the side of it, please, no food allowed. Because, you know, you can't... People will take a kebab into a taxi. It's a disgusting thing to do. You shouldn't eat in public. You should only eat in private, in my view, or in a restaurant where you're in a contained area. People now... You see them walking down the street. Borough Market is terrible for it. They're sitting on the side of a bin. They're you know, they're just disgusting.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I do sell takeaway food
Yeah.
in my day job, but it is a slice of pizza.
Yes. Do you sell it by the slice?
I do. I sell it by the
Very American style, that.
But that's a more contained
But you can hold
thing.
that in one and just eat it pretty quickly.
One of the terrible things that you can sit next to someone while they're eating is one of those heated up meatball things.
In the
'Cause
sort
that-
of hard cardboard.
Yeah, it smells
And
of
then
arse.
you have to... Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
I mean, I have to confess, when in my younger days, when I used to take the train back to Hastings, when I first moved back to London, back to the south of England, I did once get on a train in a quite inebriated state with a kebab, right? Which must have
It's a
smelled
rite of
disgusting.
passage.
And the only seat I could find was outside the toilet, right?
Handy.
So,
handy.
The door, you know, with a sliding door.
Yeah.
And people would go in and out and come out. And I'd be like, because you can't, there's no way when you're drunk to eat a kebab nicely. There just isn't. You're covered in it. Sorry.
Let's move on, gents.
Apropos,
on that thought,
On that bombshell.
I've got a video that will explain the next grump quite well.
You're gonna look them in the eyes and say, we're gonna do it anyway.
We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. Because there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong.
Right, well, that was Barry from EastEnders singing at
That was
the
horrific.
final of the World Indoor Bowls Championship. And what I cannot stand now is the proliferation of pre-sporting event entertainment. It's got out of hand. Just get to the event. I can't stand
What's the point
it.
of singing at the bowls? I'm sorry.
Well,
I missed something.
Bowls, Super Bowl. I think they were thinking he was like
But he's
our
singing
answer to
something
Justin
inside
Timberlake.
so strong. I don't even know who wrote that, but it's an awful song.
Was it Labby Sifri?
No, he used to live opposite me.
Did he?
Yeah, in Hampstead, yeah.
Little
funnily
did he know you weren't a fan.
enough. No, I wasn't.
But no, so I was watching the boxing at
Right.
the weekend.
Yes.
Right? And it's, part of the Riyadh season.
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. And it's
that's
getting,
okay.
It's getting late, right? And I have to sit through 20 minutes of someone who is allegedly Little Kim
Oh, yeah.
miming to some of her great
Is that part of the
hits.
Riyadh season thing?
It's part of the Riyadh
they've
season.
gone down the...
I've got to watch Busta Rhymes rapping and someone else who I don't know what it is. And all I want is the boxing
Yes.
match to start.
Right.
And it's like that thing of like, it's value add for the fans. No, it's justifying the
Well, when
vast
they did-
expense it costs
Yeah.
to go and see a sporting event or buy it on your TV.
Well, when they did Liam Gallagher at Wembley, that was okay, although he wasn't great.
It was for him. He got £1 million.
Yeah, I know. But that's what I mean. But the Saudis can do that, right? But, I mean, there's a bit of a drop in quality when you start going for Barry from EastEnders, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I don't think Indoor Bowls has the same budgets as the Riyadh season, I've got to be honest. And that has
Can you
been
imagine
reflected in
bowls
the entertainment.
In the Riyadh season, they'd have like diamond encrusted
But I
bowls
think
or something,
it's this
you know.
He wasn't really
edging
singing
towards...
either, was he?
No.
He was shouting,
Awful.
wasn't he?
But it's this edging towards that we're doing of the kind of 51st state where we're sort of aping the way the Americans do sporting events.
Yes.
And we don't need to.
But it all spills down, doesn't it, from the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
That half-time
The halftime-
extravaganza.
halftime
And now
extravaganza.
everyone
Which is
thinks...
actually crap.
Yeah, no, I hate
Well, the other
it.
thing
It's
is
a joke.
that bloody game is so long, you need a break and something else because you can't watch American football
But
for
you know what the
3
worst-
hours without going mental.
The worst thing is that it's almost like, you know, when they do like the Who did it a few years ago, halftime show, and it was like a sort of medley, you know, of their songs. They didn't do any song. And if you're a proper Who fan, which I used to be, you want to see the whole song.
Yeah.
You don't want to go from like, you know, Diana Ross's greatest hits into, you know, We Don't Get Fooled Again. Oh, suddenly we're versing into Who Are You? Oh, suddenly we're doing Substitute. Oh, suddenly we're doing, you know, it doesn't work.
But
for me.
your point is, why don't we just start with two guys hitting each other?
Much-
It's
What,
called
the
bo-
box?
It's
More
called
interesting.
boxing.
I don't think the
Maybe
Bulls...
Well,
that...
no, but
the Bulls. Maybe
no,
two
I'd
guys
go
hit each
to
other
the Bulls.
before.
I'd go to the Bulls if that happened.
Well, maybe that
Imagine
could
somebody
be...
beating Barry from EastEnders. Shut up.
Barry having a fight. Before that, now that would be worth
Yeah,
watching.
someone punching the crap out of Barry from EastEnders.
Yeah.
And then the
I'd-
Bulls.
I'd
That's
go for that.
entertainment.
Yeah,
That
totally.
is entertainment.
Yeah.
Or maybe it could be a theme for next week's Grumpy Old Men. But that is all for this week. Thank you for being grumpy.